The two greatest StarCraft 2 players of all time are facing off against each other in a best-of-7 Grand Finals for the lion's share of $10,000. Hello everyone, my name is Lowko. Spotting right here, in the top right-hand corner, playing in red, we have none other than Maru. Down in the bottom left, playing in blue, we're looking inside of the main base of Serral. A best-of-7 series that is the Grand Finals of the Liulu Cup. So this was played recently, and I haven't seen it just yet. As a matter of fact, these two have actually played against each other a few times over the last month. I believe they played against each other twice in the Pigsty tournament right after this particular series. So as soon as I get my hands on those replays, I will certainly go ahead and check them out as well. Because whenever these two have played against each other historically, it's always a banger. I mean, okay, hold up. It's always a banger with a little asterisk right next to it, because a lot of the excitement is leading up to the series, leading up to the games. They've had some very anticlimactic matchups in the past where everybody was super excited for it, everybody was hyped, and then it turned out to be a pretty one-sided victory. Right now, though, at this point in time, both Serral as well as Maru look very strong. Maru's Terran versus Zerg has been looking excellent. Serral's Zerg versus Terran has been looking very strong too. So a best-of-7, I mean, it should give us a very good understanding as to where these two players are currently at. Now, one little thing to note is that this was played online. So that does mean, of course, that there is going to be a little bit of ping. But honestly, it shouldn't really matter all too much. It's going to be a hedge gas pool right here for Serral. Opening up with a very quick low ground expansion, and likewise right here as well for Maru. He's going to do the same thing, but after a barracks. No SCV scout leading ahead of this Reaper. The Reaper instead will go straight across the map, and I think it's the smart thing to do against Serral. Because what are the odds of Serral not going for a hatchery first? When's the last time you've seen Serral go for any sort of early game cheese? He does mix it in from time to time, and I honestly think he should probably mix it in a little bit more frequently. Because players do go for a lot of command center first, a lot of SCV scout skips, and quite a lot of greed in general. Maru especially is somebody that will abuse that type of information if he gets it, so he's going to be quite happy to see, though, that it's just going to be a hatchery first for now. No sneaky Zerglings hiding off to the side. The Reaper will start working away at whatever he can hit. Not going to be able to achieve all too much, though. Yeah, Brenda's out. She's going to inject the hatch. Spore Crawler gets cancelled. And I'm assuming we are going to be adding a drone to the third base location soon. Actually, I say that. Serral had got... Okay, he's got up to 100 gas already. He has not moved a drone in either direction, nor has he started up Zergling speed. That is very out of character. Now, he did pull one drone out of gas. You can see this Reaper looking around as well. There's technically 3 third base options right here on Tourmaline. A couple of Zerglings did go across. I'm wondering if we're going to go for a super quick lair. Maybe a very fast Roach Warren. That's what Maru is looking for right now as well with this Reaper. But sadly for him, the Reaper ends up going down. In the meantime, he also loses 2 SCVs in the natural expansion. The third command center gets delayed for a little while. And Serral decides to immediately put down a lair. What is this build? What are we going for? Roach Warren out front. Okay. There is going to be a third hatchery eventually. But this is certainly a little bit of an oddball of a strat. Maru is going to try and figure it out, right? There's a couple of different options. Either this is just a super defensive opener for Serral, right? Or it's going to be something like a Roach push, very quick Mutas. It could even be like a Nidus Worm all-in. Either way, that really nice and comfortable early game that Terrans usually have. Well, at least against macro Zergs, right? Usually against Serral, you're just going to be able to attack all the time. Right now, he's going to have to start thinking about potential counter-attacks here, too. Evo Chamber gets added into the mix. A lair is just about done. So, what are we going to do with it? Extra gas is being taken. He starts up a Roach speed. No Spire. No +1 yet started either, though, which makes all of this a little bit disjointed. If you want to go for a timing attack with Roach speed and +1 attack, you do need to start up that +1 a little bit sooner. Kind of looks to me like an Evo Chamber here. Yeah, that's just going to get an upgrade going and then it's going to finish eventually. It's also important, though, here for Maru to consider that this might just be a macro build. Even though it really very much so to him looks like some sort of aggression, it really doesn't have to be. And I don't think it is. Serral's just droning. This looks like a hyper-safe Roach opener where Terran is not really going to be able to do all too much. And For Terran, this is tough. How committed is the Zerg to aggression, and how committed is the Zerg right here to economy? Like, what has he seen? He's seen a delayed third base. He has seen Zerg stuck on 2 bases. He can't really just commit to, like, a scan on the other side of the map. So he needs to basically be safe against all things. Because of that, we go into a bunker right now. Siege tank production has kicked in. Stimpack is done. I would love to see combat shields added into the mix. I think Maru right now, though, has realized. Oh, well, he was at the very least thinking, contemplating moving across the map. Serral is going to send a few of the queens right now, too. He is pumping out a lot of roaches. Okay, are we just going to go for a roach speed timing attack? Well, you know what? I started off this series saying that sometimes Serral is a bit predictable. But this is a build that is certainly a little odd. He goes back to droning right now. Starts up a bunch of Ravagers, cancels one of them. The thing that's really throwing me off, though, is this +1 carapace. Like, it's just not going to be done in time. Maru is checking out front. He knows that this push is coming. He has seen the Ravagers morph in. It takes about 7 corrosive balls to kill a bunker, so there's not enough Ravagers to just straight up one-shot this. He is going to commit. But how hard is he actually going to commit? It kind of feels to me like maybe he's just going to chill a little bit while droning behind. And he is indeed throwing down an infestation pit as well to, I guess, go straight into a hive here momentarily. And he goes back home. Okay. You know what? This is, even though it's a little weird, and I'm questioning a lot of the decision making, I do believe that this is precisely what Serral needs to be doing more frequently, because sometimes his opponents really do take him for granted. Now, luckily for him, he can just out-macro and outplay them. So, oftentimes he can still win regardless of the opponent's, well, really playing against his image. But this right here is a weird strat, and one that is certainly going to be something that Maru needs to analyze by looking at the replay after the game. Bailing Nest starts up right now. Hive indeed begins. We have the second Evo chamber inside of the main base. So really, this is just another one of those strategies that will lead to a very conventional late game. But the way in which Serral is getting there is very odd. Double council right here on that 4th. Seeing the 4th base, though, is going to be quite nice. Maru's 3rd base is now going to be delayed, though, because of all this creep. So I guess that's why the queens were here, just to, well, delayed is a little while. Look at him. This is Brenda walking her dog. Yeah, her dog, it's a cute dog. It can fly. She's got it on a little leash. You can't see it. It's like fish wire. It's practically invisible. All right. 4th command center fires up right now for Maru, who should be able to navigate this quite nicely. 2nd factory right now, out over at the 3rd base. +2/+2 fires up. Maru is trying to now guide this game back to, yeah, a spot that he has seen before. Man, I kind of love this. There's something very cute about it to me. Maybe I watched too much StarCraft that I think this is kind of adorable. But look at Brenda waiting right here. The Overlord is going to poop a little bit of creep again. There we go. Brenda takes a bit of a shower. We put down a few creep tumors, and then we move in another direction yet again. Honestly, this is kind of straightforward, though, because you can just sort of right-click the Overlord onto the Queen, and it will just start dropping. Anyways, if you like cute things, look away. Brenda, no! All right. Well, Maru hates pets. And he hates the Queen, too. Ultra Cavern, though, in the meantime, is coming up. Adrenal Glance is about 1/3 of the way done. +2, we have +2 Carapace finishing up. I'm assuming we're going to go straight into +3. This is honestly a very scary setup right here for Serral. The thing about this, though, is that for Maru, it's still kind of a difficult read. How do you know when you're going to have to transition here to, say, for example, Ghosts or Liberators and all the rest of it? If you're just stuck on Marine Medevac Tank by the time that Ultralisks come out, it can become very sketchy. Like a big Ultra timing attack can actually just straight up catch you off guard. This is Serral's favorite move lately, though. He's going to go into 5, sometimes 6 Dropper Lords. And I guess the plan is to drop off Lynx, maybe some Roaches inside of the main base. Up until this point, it's been relatively passive from the Zerg. But soon, all hell will break loose. Oh, fungal. Oh, that's a big, juicy fungal. Okay, fantastic start for this particular fighting. There was a little bit of an exchange as well out front, it looks like. But really, this is opening up supply for more Ultras and Zerglings to come out. Roaches that die right now, sadly for them, will not be replaced with more roaches. The era of the roach is over. I think it's becoming very important, though, for Maru to get these units out. He's queuing up a couple more medevacs, but I think more Liberators here would be beneficial. He's got 7 medevacs as it is. Liberators and Ghosts. That's what he really needs right now. Spire coming up as well. We're just going straight into a big macro game. All right, here we go. You remember those pets from earlier? Well, they brought their friends out for revenge. Brenda is still with us in spirit. Couple corrosive balls right here. Should be 3. Yep. Onto the siege tank to shut it down. Maru honestly is doing a good job, though, navigating all of this, right? Like, it's an oddball of a game for him. But he has now brought this back into a tried and true setup. Pesky Zergling here being annoying. What about the Overlord drop? Excellent denial right here by the Terran. There's a mothership, by the way. Crashed on the right side of Tourmaline. The Protoss were here once upon a time. Well, this is the first time, though, that Ultras come out. A couple of snipes are available. Liberation circles are also set up. The Planetary Fortress is nice, but no mass repair. Is it a little bit too late? It is not. Perfect defense right here from Maru, honestly. Considering he didn't know that this was really coming, I don't think he really could have hoped for a lot more. Like, that was effectively Serral saying, haha, this is what I've been building up all this time. Maru says, okay, cool story, bro. Fires up 4 command centers, +3/+3 coming up as well. We are going straight into a big macro game here. Okay. Baneling transition on the way right here for Serral. He starts up the +1 missile upgrade. I mean, I would have preferred seeing +3 melee, but... Oh, actually, that's because it's started over here. All right. I guess we're going to maybe still add on something like Hydras eventually, if he feels like that's what he needs. Vikings looking around right now, trying to see if maybe they can find those Dropper Lords from earlier. Well, this is I think, what the cargo of those Dropper Lords was a little bit ago. Seeing those units standing out here, I think, is already giving him quite a bit of intel. All right. Now, this is a map, though, that can become quite difficult for Terran. Because where do you expand to right now next, right? Like, the top left-hand corner is, I guess, a base that is somewhat acceptable for Maru to take, but it feels really far away. Likewise, the 3 o'clock position, it also is kind of a jump. Like, the problem is, if you take this one, you have to spread your defenses very thin, and then suddenly this base in the upper left of your bases is going to be, well, susceptible to Zerg aggression. I guess he's going to be trying to get this base up and running here eventually. That's exactly why Serral's trying to deny it. Serral trying to hope for a couple of lucky corrosive balls there. Not going to happen. Nice Widowmine hit. In the meantime, we have a Nidus network coming up. Yeah, and Maru is just basically trying to win this by like minute 30 at this rate. He's trying to go up to his beloved dozen or so orbital commands. At that point, SCVs become optional and the Fog of War can effectively be disabled. At least for a few seconds at a time. Building armor fires up. 5 command centers. Okay. Well, I think this is the type of series, though, that everybody would love to see between these two, right? Big macro games between the two players that are widely considered to be the greatest of all time. Tactical nuke? All right, sure, bring it in. High-sec auto-tracking as well right here for Terran. That is the ranged upgrade for planetary fortresses and missile turrets. You know, it's very good. Don't get me wrong. But it is a luxury upgrade. Let's see, though. Banelings are starting to roll through. Yeah. Backing up again, though, is Maru right here to the safety of that planetary fortress. Always such a nice anchor to fall back to. Base over here at the 3 o'clock gets denied. Command center in the upper left does now indeed see that there is again a hatchery building. Hatchery does finish up. Okay, alright. Maru is now making the transition, though, to that very deadly late-game Ghost army. A lot of Zerg players don't really enjoy playing against the Ghost anymore. They're very powerful units, but really only when they're controlled at the absolute highest level. I feel like when we see other Terran players, use Ghosts, they don't really seem to use them as effectively as, say, like the Marus and the Clems of this world. They are very counterable, especially when the Zerg player here is Serral. Just takes like 1 fungal growth to well, basically destroy everything. Nidus Worm right now, though, into the main base. Liberators probably need to turn back around, although actually they're going to be using their entire attack to go after that Overseer. Nidus Worm, though, is not going to pop up, and here's Maru trying yet again to take another base. Let's see. Can we actually grab it? Yeah, so the problem with this one, right? Like I was trying to say earlier, if you start taking this base out onto the map, it's relatively accessible, but now you effectively have to pull defenses from the upper left towards the right side of the map. In order to apparently set this up a little bit better, though, for Terran, Maru decided to go double planetary fortress here. Obviously, the fortresses don't cost any supply. Serral sees it right now. Is this something you can just overwhelm? I think as soon as Serral realizes that this is actually an attempt to take the base over on the right side of the map, he will certainly be thinking about just blowing up the bases on the left side of the map instead. An eye for an eye, so to say. Factory transition coming up right now, though, for Maru. He'll be going from Bio into Ghost Liberator into what looks like Ghost Mech eventually. Serral starting up a couple of Overseers here. Okay. How many do we have? We're going up to 14 Overseers. Obviously, we've seen... Oh, Tactical Nuke coming in. We have seen a Rogue mess around quite a lot with that sort of shenanigans, right? Ghost right over here. Yep, nuking up towards the high ground. Does Serral see it in time? I think he noticed it a while ago. He actually just waited with pulling the workers. We are min-maxing the mining over here against nukes. Sure, why not? Man, these guys are so freaking good at the game. It's actually stupid. Like, how do you even do anything here? There's this weird part where when the players are too good, sometimes it can kind of feel like a stalemate. Like, even though there's a lot going on, right? With Nidus Worms and nukes and both players trying to outsmart each other and stuff, neither of them really wants to commit. Because obviously Maru doesn't want to push deep onto creep. He's just trying to establish bases. But likewise, Serral doesn't really want to pull too far off of creep. Yeah, this is an absolute treat, though. This is excellent. Now, how many command centers do you make? Like, when do you cut it off? Because we're up to 12. We have 16 plus a couple more, right? It is a lot of CCs. Command centers are 400 minerals. Orbital commands 150 on top of that. So basically, I guess on average, you can say that like the command centers are like 550-ish resources each. I mean, when you make like 20 of those bad boys, it adds up very quickly. And it's one of the big advantages for Zerg in the late game. Zerg just doesn't really need that many structures. These Marines and Marauders are going to get sacrificed. Greater Spire coming up right now as well for Serral. Maru wants to go and make a bit of a move over here. He really wants to grab this base in the far bottom right. Planetary fortresses, I think, are going to be set up here in key locations. Tactical Nuke right now as well, used for zoning purposes. And that I do really love. Maru is hoping to either catch the army on the advancement or on the retreat. Serral, though, is not going to take the bait. Instead, he blows up a bunch of the units there. Fair enough. A couple of snipes here, but not all of them finish up as the Ultralisks moves out of the max range. I think ultimately, though, it's kind of looking like this hatchery will go down. Serral really wants to keep it alive. Yeah, but he decides to retreat. I think it's a smart move. In the meantime, we have a secondary Zerg army moving around the left side of the map too. The top left, that is. Banelink's trying to roll through into the mineral line. A bunch of the SCVs will indeed die. Planetary number 1 also falls, and planetary number 2 is not going to be falling far behind it. So maybe Maru takes out a base right over here in the far bottom right. That is base number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He takes down base number 9, but loses base 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for it. Maybe I missed one. Anyways, point being, that is a trait that Serral will be very happy with. Serral fires up more Overlords right now. Are we really gonna go full rogue? Is that the plan? Do we just keep on adding more Overseers into the mix? If that's what we go for, I think we should also go into a secondary Nidus network and just try to flood the map with changelings, try to get into the main. Look at the scanning, though. Maru's like, yo, where are you? Come out and play, man. Where are you? Playing hide and seek with Maru is the worst. He's just gonna sit in the living room and scan the house. Absolute disaster. Okay, pushing the upper section of the map yet again. Problem is, Maru's army right now is very much so on the wrong side. Serral doesn't want to use up all of his Banelings, decides to just sort of, yeah, force the lift off here and then back up. In the meantime, that entire Terran army is cycling back towards the upper left-hand corner now. I do believe it's important, though, for Serral to deny this base, if possible. Command Center actually maybe one square off axis here. I think it's, yeah, mispositioned. Okay. Okay. Lots of upgrades, though, still coming up. +3 arrow weapons also coming up right here for Serral, even though he hasn't really had a lot of flying units. When he does want to make the transition here to, say, for example, Brute Lords, they're going to hit very hard. Already, though, in case of Brute Lords, Blue Flame here coming up for any sort of Hellbat transition. Maru makes a move towards the upper left, tries to get a couple of nice hits in, not going to happen. And this base over here is actually very scary for Serral. So ultimately, right? Oh, as we do now, hold that thought, as we do now have the Zerg trying to break this position yet again. Maru is on the run right now with all of the ghosts. Liberators are going to get balled down. Corruptors are also connecting. Siege tanks trying their absolute best. Snipes there will not finish up. Not a trade that Maru will be happy with. His army there takes a pretty significant nosedive. Nidus Worm goes up into the main base once more. Okay, so usually, right, Terran is the more cost-effective race. So if you look at the resources lost, you can already see that Maru has lost significantly less. If Maru can somehow, some way, mine half of the map's total resources, and he's currently got half of his side of the map taken, even though some of those mineral fields may have been mined by the Zerg a little bit, it's mostly negligible. If he can mine out 50% of the total map's resources and then remain cost-effective, despite the fact that he's been the ones taking a beating over the last, like, 5 minutes or so, he can still win, just based off of that alone. So as long as he can mine out this base, I think this one is the important one. If he can mine this base out, it is still certainly a game that Maru can win. And I love how Maru, he's actually forcing the mining in the bottom right-hand corner rather than over here at the 3 o'clock. Now, Serral right now thinking the same thing. He decides to make a move towards this bottom right. He knows that this base needs to be denied and, well, say goodbye to the SCV count. Yeah, maybe that's why you normally not see that army move towards the bottom right. In the meantime, though, Maru did also take down the hedge in the bottom, or the top left, rather, but Serral did evacuate the workers. He put them into the network, I believe, and managed to get them out. The SCV's not so lucky. Ooh, look at all those ultras. So low, Serral decides to pull back. Cool guys don't look at explosions or at buildings that are burning down. I think that'll be the end of that planetary too. Maru now using this, though, as an opportunity to go out. Serral's got a bank that any Zerg player will be happy with. But likewise, Maru also has a good bit of cash. Another hatchery will fall right here in the middle of the map. Fungal growth onto some of the biological units. I'm actually a little surprised we don't have these upgrades yet. That's crazy. I didn't even pay attention to it. But not having a fusion core until like a half hour into the game is kind of nuts. Absolute no-brainer. Caduceus reactor is super powerful. Advanced ballistics, likewise, also a very nice upgrade, especially when you have a bunch of liberators. Maru now, though, using this as an opportunity to push in. We do have the Zerglings unloading inside of the main base. Bunch of drones, actually. Those are the ones I think that were in the upper left-hand corner previously. They tried to evacuate and accidentally moved into the main base. They even attack moved onto one of those barracks. In the meantime, Serral's trying to push his army away. Maru, though, has got a really lovely setup here. He's now making a transition towards a bunch of Hellbats and then also more Marauders. This fungal growth, though, onto the Medivacs is juicy. That'll be the end of a lot of the Terran's healing right when the Caduceus reactor upgrade finishes up. Zorkling in the upper right-hand corner still available. It's going to be used as his vision can still provide another Nidus Worm in the main base. Drones right now in the upper left once more. Serral did retake the far bottom right. Yeah, and even though, right, like I don't mind this position for Maru that much, but it kind of feels like a very difficult spot for him. That's a gigantic reinforcing army, though. It's just that how in the world do you beat somebody that has twice the bank that you have? How do you pull that sort of thing off? Either way, it's critical that Maru denies the corner bases. Here he goes again. The drones immediately run away. It's one of the nice things about the Nidus Worm. One problem right here actually for Maru making this transition right now to additional starports is that he never really got a lot of air weapon upgrades. So Serral is fully maxed out with all of the upgrades you can have. You can see it over here in the bottom section of the screen. Maru is lacking some air weapon attacks. So if he wants to go into this starport transition, I mean, Liberators are still powerful. They're not really a unit that need a lot of attack upgrades, but it is something that is certainly noteworthy. Maybe he's just going to use those medevacs for new, or those starports rather, for new medevacs though, because they are the ones going down constantly. The Nidus base in the middle is pretty sweet. Serral going in for a Zergling counter in the meantime on the right side of the map. Fully upgraded links can actually take care of planetaries by themselves. Ghost activate their cloaking ability though to make sure that they don't fall. We do have an Overseer nearby, but it's not going to live for long enough to really do any damage. A couple of siege tanks will be killed on their way out, it looks like. And the Blue Flame Hellbats, they're trying their best to close the distance, but... Well, Serral just making, so many tanks actually dying. A little bit of friendly fire there, too. That group of Zerglings was so much more successful than I thought it was going to be. It's kind of crazy. That was like 30 Zerglings killed like 7 tanks. You know what? These apparently have heard the legend. Yep. Splash damage here. Look at them. They're killing each other. Ay, ay, ay. That's another tank falling here. Little minigame. Little siege tank Zergling minigame. In the meantime, the hatchery in the middle of the map did get sniped. Guys, I'm starting to get nerd chills. This is so freaking good. These guys are so ridiculous. 450 average actions per minute here for Maru. 509 on average over like the last half hour for Serral. These Zergling hit squads are kind of nuts though. Like, all jokes aside, siege tanks are expensive, and Zerglings kind of feel like they are practically free. Maru cannot afford losing that many tanks. He's lost 22 in total, and I feel like the majority of them have died over, make it 23, over the last couple of minutes. Bunch of Widow Mines set up in the middle of the map. I think that's nicer. Hatchery in the middle. Ooh, okay, it is not gonna get denied this time around, but I think it'll always be a difficult one for Serral to actually mine. Base in the upper left is going to be retaken here by the Terran yet again. They've been sharing the mineral fields. That's love. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. Well, Serral doesn't like his mineral field smelling of SCV. He hates the smell of Terran, so he decides to shut it down yet again. It's a very salty, cheesy smell. Nobody likes that. Ooh. Well, you know what? There are a lot of ghosts behind this. Are there enough snipes available? I don't know if this fight really is that great for Serral, but the ultras are sketchy. Yeah, it's difficult for the Terran to really stand and fight, and that's the issue he's running into. More and more Lings going to town as well. Man, this series might actually just take 4 hours. I hate to break this to all of you, but this might be a 4-hour series. Do you mind? You probably don't mind. There is an Infestor, by the way. There is an Infestor, by the way. Fungal. Oh, EMP does get landed just barely in time. That could have been an absolute disaster for Maru. I mean, it was still pretty bad, don't get me wrong, but how quickly he EMP'd that Infestor was absolutely critical. He could not afford his entire Ghost squad there getting fungled. Okay. Liberator numbers are growing. 6 of those bad boys coming out at a time. And one really nice thing, of course, for Maru when he plays this type of late game is with this many orbitals, he's got 12 of them. He really doesn't need... he really doesn't need a whole lot of additional SCVs anymore. So that's opening up a lot of supply for army alone. Maru now at 28 workers versus 61 for Serral. That is something that is very nice for Terran. Here we go again, though. Zerg wants to collapse on top of his army. Not the entirety of the Terran army is present. Maru's forces are very disjointed, and I think that's exactly what the Zerg player is looking for right now. Corruptors are getting some freebie kills here onto the Liberators, and while Maru will defend, I think Serral's very pleased with how that engagement went. Yeah. Maru's army supply count got basically cut in half, and while he will replenish the losses very quickly, his bank is starting to dry up. Serral did spend about half of his own bank, maybe a little bit more than half. But he still has 11,000 resources available for him, so he can keep this going all day. And right now, these outer bases, these corner expansions are starting to look desperate. There's nothing anymore Maru can do about the bottom right. It is all about these final mineral fields here in the upper left-hand corner. Now, Maru does make sure, though, that there's no creep in this area. He's also got a really lovely spread here on the units that he does have. Infestor can, by the way, fungal from the high ground. Needs to be careful that he doesn't walk accidentally within range of the missile turret. He walked in range of it. Does not matter, though. Serral decides to pull the trigger yet again. Corruptors are swooping in from the side. The Ghosts are trying to stutter step backwards. Not all of the siege tanks were sieged up before this engagement began. Serral jumps the gun earlier than what Maru anticipated and say goodbye to a lot of the Ghosts. Right now, we have 109 supply available for the South Korean Terran player. Serral is basically fully maxed. He's got a bank that is still more than good enough. And I think the finisher, yeah, I think he's just clutched it yet again. Brilliant game from start to finish. Very technical early game, very confusing early game. But just across the board, absolute beauty. Maru's not gonna go down without a fight, but this right now is his last legs. Another fungal growth does hit the army. It's his Hail Mary play, but it's not going to be enough. Serral's gonna keep reinforcing this for a while to come. And that means that game number 1 is going to go in favor of the world champion. Game number 2. We find ourselves on the map Tato Citadel. Okay, I think the tone has been set. Both players are not messing around. It's very clear that they're trying to play to win. Now, sadly there for Maru, he just fell short. But admittedly, it is quite difficult to break a position like that. I think there may actually also be a little bit of a disconnect, because usually Maru will find himself winning the late game against all other Zerg players out there. It seems like a lot of the Zerg players at the highest level even don't really want to play late game that frequently against Terran. But Serral is a bit of a monster, and maybe taking him to the late game is just not the main goal. Now, obviously, or maybe it shouldn't be the main goal. Obviously, there are a lot of aggressive pushes that Maru can go for before that point. Because of the weird build, though, that Serral did, he kind of felt like his only choice, I guess, was to just play the macro game out. It's not like he fell super significantly behind, I don't think, but he just... yeah, because of the weird Roach opener, he didn't really have a crazy timing attack to go for, or, yeah, a really weird, like, 8-Rex all-in, or anything along those lines. He decided to try and get comfortable, and he got comfortable, but so did Serral. And suddenly you're playing a half-hour-long match. I feel like Serral is pretty much always favored in that regard. I wonder if that's the reason why he decided to go for that, well, really fake push, right? With the Roaches and the 2-base opener and all the rest of it. Because ultimately, all that Serral really wanted to do, it seemed, was play the macro game. He really faked out a timing attack. Didn't even really go for a timing attack. Started spreading creep in weird directions all over the map. And Maru was like, well, I guess if that's what we're playing against, I'll just put down a second factory, go into a 4th command center, and macro my way out of it from there. Alright, well, it's going to be a Reaper start yet again. It's also once more not an SCV scout leading ahead of the Reaper. I do always feel that for a series, though, it's always better if Maru wins map number 1. Because he starts getting very greedy, usually. Either with, like, proxy barracks on the other side of the map, or with multiple command center first. Maru, though, decides to just play identical strategies to what he did in game number 1 so far. Serral this time does add on a 3rd hatchery much quicker. He did pull out a gas fully. And here's that 3rd hatchery already building up. Maru's gonna scout it here in just a moment, and he will know that this is all normal. Yeah, that's what you want to see as a Terran player. Terrans actually, it's a bit weird, right? Like, we see Terrans trying to deny Zerg 3rd bases all the time. But at the same time, Terran don't really want to play against 2-base Zerg. So you want to deny their 3rd base for a little while, just because that means you are, well, messing up their plan a little bit. But you also really don't want to deny it for so long that now Zerg is playing a 2-base opener. Even though technically Terran is slightly favored, I think, in that regard, it does just make the game so much more complex. Early game Zerg is very predictable. Mid-game Zerg, though, has about a dozen viable build orders, and I think across the board, Maru will be pretty happy with seeing that third hatchery right over there on the low ground. Speaking of low grounds, he yet again fires up the third CC in this same location. It's a little bit odd. I guess the idea behind it is that normally an Overlord Scout will go in from the side of the main base, just like what Serral is doing on this side. Usual Scout is between 4 minutes and 4:15. So I think that this particular OV Scout is still going to see the command center, but I guess if it's in the main base, it's guaranteed to be spotted. Serral right there, though. Oh, no. Reroutes it. He sees the timing there on the Hellion production, and he decides to just back up. Double engineering bay right now as well for the Terran. Tech lab number 2. No shenanigans here with cloaking field this time around. Lair starts up here for Serral, about 4.5 minutes of in-game time. All of this is very normal. I'm expecting to see probably an Evo chamber and a Baneling nest here in just a sec. Although he could go for like some of that more common, I guess, lately. That more common infestation pit type of style. Not the case though. Serral goes straight into a Baneling nest. For a couple weeks there, a lot of Zerg players were, especially against like Maru, against like Clem, against like Bjorn, the absolute top dogs, they were not going into a Baneling nest nearly as quickly, and they were kind of treating Banelings like a late game unit. No more over the last few weeks. We're going back to the good old Baneling speed opener. Banshee now goes around. Spore crawlers coming up. No cloaking available this time around though. 4 barracks all at the same time here for Maru. Building up to a total of 5. And ooh, Serral's going to be building a spire. Well, let's see. A little bit of Mutaling Bane. Not something that he usually goes for a whole lot. Mutaling Bane cannot be played as passively as the style that we saw in the previous game. With Roachling Bane into like Ultras and stuff, usually your main goal is defending. But with Mutalisk, you do have to go out onto the map and get some sort of damage done. Changelings though. Gonna scout out exactly what is going on here. And the main thing that the Zerg will be looking for at this point is whether or not there could be like a 8 Rex all-in imminent or anything else along those lines. Like, is everything normal here on the side of the Terran player? So far, it appears to be. Overseer is gonna live for now, but it did take a bit of a bruising. No evolution chambers though, so that means we are gonna get quite a few mutas, I believe. Yep, 7 of those bad boys fire up. Baneling speed about halfway done. And I guess that's the main thing that Zerg will cut here. The timing of the Evo chambers. Now, Maru has already finished 1-1 before Serral even starts up his own. That's crazy. I would love to see Maru, yep, there we go, fire up the +2/+2. So now he's beginning 2-2 before Serral starts up 1-1. It basically means that Maru for like the next 20 minutes or so, okay, maybe slightly less than that, but until Serral finishes 3-3, if he even ever gets to that point, Maru will have a timing attack potential. His Marines are just going to hit so bloody hard. And will the Mutas actually be able to make up for that? There's 8 of those guys available right now. They wanted to go across the map. Instead, he decides to now send them back in. Siege tanks, though, in some really spicy locations. Maru is going to commit to a push here. Keep in mind that this is by no means all in for the Terran. Ugh, okay. Yeah, Mutaling Bane is so fast to engage. Reinforcing Terran units here are indeed a necessity. Maru will have clicked on one of those links by now, though, and he will have noticed, okay, that is very quick Muta play. That means very delayed upgrades. 4th Command Center fires up. 2nd Factory right now out front. In the meantime, he's pushing up to the high ground. Queen's here in a world of trouble. Banelings are coming up yet again. Muta's trying to swoop around the site. Serral is going to lose some of them, though. Nice splitties right here by Maru. He is having a difficult time engaging on creep, and with more and more banelings coming up, I wonder if Maru does need to go home for just a sec. But across the board, not a bad trade here for Terran at all. Any ways to keep those mutas off of your side of the map are good, right? Like, you can start up some missile turrets now defensively. He even fires up a Thor. We have the Drilling Claws research coming up as well for Widow Mines. Maru using this time here to his advantage. In the meantime, though, Serral's sneaking out a base. All the way in the far bottom left. It will be something that Maru needs to take into consideration, because, of course, we do have a gold base here on Tato Citadel. Barracks 6, 7, and 8, though, coming up already. And that is really going to make this Terran production pop. He's finishing 2-2 already, 9 minutes in, right as Serral's finishing 1-1. That's so good for Terran. I can't emphasize enough how nice that is. Serral decides to just cancel that base. As soon as he gets spotted, he's not even going to try. Maru will be trying to go for a planetary fortress in the middle. I think he's about to prepare with 3-3 research as well in his engineering base. I think we should at the very least. There we go. Thank you for making me look good, Maru. Appreciate that, dude. Planetary indeed in the middle. Okay, Mutaling swoops in around the left side of the map. The natural expansion is wide open. Big Daddy Thor popped out of the factory, is immediately going to get sniped. Zerglings right now in the mineral line, though, and they will also be used to deny the advancing here of the Terran army. Missile turrets being sniped. So far, the SCV losses have been kept to a minimum, but you have to be very careful. Serral targeting those bad boys down to try and open up an opportunity for the mutas to go in. It looks like, though, these lings will not really achieve that much, and well, yeah, I think that was a pretty good opportunity for Serral to get some damage done. The defense there from Maru was excellent. Okay. 4 SCVs for all of that? Yeah. I don't think Serral's happy with that at all. Okay. Maru will be very pleased with it. He didn't yet go for a Ghost Academy, so for now it's going to be probably just Marine Marauder. Base in the bottom left fired up yet again. Mispositioned, though, by Serral. He's definitely feeling the heat. Targeting down, okay, the starport? I don't know, sure. Okay, he kills it. Kind of annoying, I guess. In the meantime, there is a fight as well happening off creep. That will go way better for Maru across the board, who's now trying to make a beeline for that base yet again. I think Serral should just cancel it. He does not cancel it, so that'll be 275 minerals plus the drone down the drain. Immediately repositioned it in the right location this time around, but I mean, while this is all happening, Maru is on virtually an identical strategy, right? Or an identical economy here, but with much better upgrades, with a far superior army. The creep really is what is allowing Serral a little bit of wiggle room still, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if Maru is going to start, well, taking care of some of that in the meantime too. Into the choke point, the little alleyway here, dangerous. Muta counterattack though, and the numbers here are growing. Now there's 25 of those bad boys, and this is an amount that you need to respect. Previously, where they were targeting down a starport, now even the command center is no longer safe. 7 SCVs fall down. Okay, Serral actually just targeting structures. Kind of odd, right? Like, normally we never see Zerg go for structure damage like that. Double missile turret inside of the main base's mineral line. Bunch more SCVs will likely fall as well. In the meantime, this advancing Terran army has made its way towards that middle base. Bottom left-hand corner expansion, though, will finish up soon. Maru has finished 3-3. Serral still at Lair Tech. That means that he's not even going to be able to start up 3-3 until Hive is done. So Maru is effectively roaming the map here with 2 additional upgrades for at least like the next 4 minutes. That's really, really nice for Terran. Effectively, any main straight-up engagement between these 2 armies is going to be significantly better for Terran. So Serral wants to deny that to the best of his abilities. He's just flying around the map, setting up Zergling counterattacks and all the rest of it. He does not want to have a clash between the armies. Missile turrets, though, are now also protected with a bunch of Widow Mines. Main base, though, does not have any new missile turrets built, and I do not see any Widow Mines in this area either. Zergling run by here, now over at the third base, and this is where Maru can very rapidly fall apart if he's not careful. Base in the bottom left did go down. That's a nice snipe, but these units also do have to fly away. Zergling burrowed underneath. Marines trying to intercept this. Javelin missiles of the Thors are flying after the Mutalisks. The defense here is good enough by Maru. You gotta be so careful, though, here as the Terran. Because, yeah, you've got the Zerg exactly where you want them, but this can still spiral out of control. Like, if you don't respect the Mutas, if you then feel like you have to go and push deep onto creep, and now you're fighting against Roly Banes, it's very dangerous. Serral's hanging in here, but he still does not have his 3-3 upgrades. Hive is done. Fires up the +3 carapace now. Maru is going to take out this expansion a second time around over here in the middle, it looks like, although Serral wants to deny it. Stimpak gets activated. Maybe we should have done that a little bit ago already. Move commando here from Maru into the Banes. Not what should be done. It's because he's busy trying to micro over here. Serral, though, not pays attention, and that means he's going to lose a bunch of Mutas. Now, 16 of those guys have died in total. We've got a few different control groups of Mutas as well, it looks like. Serral, he wants to hold. He knows he needs to buy time. This planetary fortress may very well fall. Hatchery in the middle, though, is going to be denied, but the hatchery now in the far bottom left is available. Bunch of changelings out into the map as well to see if Terran is moving in this direction. Serral may be working a miracle here. Like, nothing's really gone his way. Yeah, I mean, nothing is maybe a little harsh, but many things have not gone his way so far in this game. And it kind of felt to me like he was starting to run out of juice, but Maru is struggling actually closing it out. Every time he's ready to move in with a big attack, Serral moves into the main base. It's so dangerous here. Pushing onto creep when you know there's banelings around every corner is just so scary. Adrenal glands coming up right now as well for the Zerglings. That's a big damage buff. And the upgrade advantage that Maru once held is starting to close. Another starport dies. Man, so many of those production structures have died. I guess it really is taking the wind out of Maru's sails here. Like, Maru wants to keep pushing, and he's still doing exactly that, but losing those structures, they need to be replaced. We'll probably see this hatchery start up again in a moment. Middle base here available right now again as well for Serral in just a sec. Maru, though, wants to snipe this expansion over here, and he still has an upgrade advantage. This is exactly what he's been looking for this entire time. Those Marauders can tank banelings for breakfast. Okay. Those are the types of fights we want to see. At least if you're a fan of Terran. New starports now added into the mix. When you lose one, make two. The mythological Hydra strategy. There's not enough Marines available to go after the Mutalisks. +3 carapace will finish up. Adrenal glands just moments away from being done. New command center being set up right now on the left side of the map. What about the fight over here in the middle? Not enough creep in this area, so Maru is once more going to try and push forward. Banelings try to slip through the cracks. Yeah, Maru splits are too good, man. Now the Mutas join in as well, though, and this is obviously where that Zerg army is so powerful. Quickly repositioning and joining together. They may have started the fights on opposite ends of the map, but Zerg can obviously get these units together so rapidly. Maru needs to be careful he doesn't get too split up. He wants to deny the creep over here, though, and he's doing an excellent job with exactly that. Base in the bottom left right now is being retaken again by the Zerg. Big Daddy Thor now in the front as well, ready to take some Lings and Banes. Marauders still live, and that means that this hatchery will go down very rapidly. Medivacs fully out of energy, by the way. Big counterattack now with both Zerglings as well as Mutas. Okay. Maru's supply count is looking somewhat healthier than the Zerg, but he's only got 44 workers remaining. No Widow Mines in this base, but Serral doesn't know. He sees the amount of missile turrets, decides to back up. These guys are so good. Sorry, I know I've made that same assessment like 14 times already in this particular cast, but seriously, dude. These guys are so closely matched. Oh, it's a treat. No missile turrets over here. But Maru is probably gonna lose the base in the middle, but take out the base in the bottom left. And Serral really is desperate for minerals right now. The Muta numbers are also not as high anymore as they once were, making it all difficult for Zerg to really commit to these counterattacks. Small pockets of Marines can no longer really be, easily killed. 5 more Mutas, though, will definitely make that a lot easier. And while there were 4 SCVs dying, Maru got an entire Zerg base for it in return. So I think that's pretty good. Maru ready to lay down the law yet again. He scans all of the outer bases. He knows right now that the only base that Zerg can really take is the one yet again in the middle. He has not really Serral that has been able to mine that one for very long in this game at all. Maru needs to be careful. Yeah, he decides to split up his units right now. This is clever. Careful, though, against those Banes. You gotta stim your units. Yep. That was close. Muta counterattack in the meantime. Picks up a bunch of the reinforcing Terran troops, but again, another hatchery dies. The Muta numbers, though, are big enough yet again to really start, well, hammering this Terran army at home. They are now also opening the front door for the Zerglings to run through, and obviously the Zerglings can very quickly take care of all of those missile turrets. That means that Maru needs to now fully fall back home. The main base here of Maru is going to get denied. We even have a contamination used on top of the factory. Slows down the production right there of that one Widow Mine for a little while. Maru is not even at the time to add on any reactors onto those newly made starports. I guess that never really was the intention. Okay. Dude, what a game. Keep in mind, and this is a bit of a stretch, okay? But keep in mind that professional gamers are human. Oh, God. Case in point right over here. These games are tiring to cast. They're tiring to watch. So imagine playing them. Right? Like, this is not going to be the first set that these two are playing on the same day either, I don't think. Usually you'll have to play a couple of series. So they're probably already many hours in. Meaning that as we progress, if we keep having macro games like this, I do expect that things get a little bit messier. Big engagement over here, pretty decent for Serral, but Maru's got so much money that he can replenish the units very quickly. Yeah, I can only imagine, man. Playing 2 of these games back to back and you're playing a best of 7? Many of us would have mentally checked out already. Hatchery's gonna get denied another time around. Missile turrets, though, in the back over at the 3rd base. They are going to go down, but Serral realizes where this game is headed. He just has not been able to get his feet under him, economically speaking. Maru's just denying bases over and over and over again. And that means that Maru evens up the score. And just like that, we find ourselves on the Celestial Enclave. A beautiful map. It needs to be set like that. Actually, I feel like lately we haven't seen the Celestial Enclave as frequently. This is a very macro-heavy map, it seems. Well, at least in theory it is, because there's just so many bases that are easily accessible. You can technically take, like, the first 4 bases without all too much trouble, but I guess because of these, well, especially the mineral-only path over here, we've seen a lot of players use that to their advantage to get some cheeses going. Try to gobble the opponent up from the inside out. I'm actually just gonna look up the win-loss ratio on this map specifically for this matchup. Because I feel like it's not really been that common lately for Zerg versus Terran, but it could just be the series specifically that I have been casting. According to Liquipedia, this map has a 46% win rate for Terran against Zerg. Meaning that Zerg wins the majority of the time. It's not super lopsided, but I guess it's not a map that Terrans will be all too fond of. Likely then, Serral's map pick. Usually the way that tournaments work, by the way, when it comes to map order. Usually when you're playing, in this case, a best of 7, there's 9 maps in the StarCraft 2 map pool. The players will both veto 1 map each, and then they will take turns deciding what map order is going to be played in the series. So obviously if you're playing a best of 5, you will have 2 vetoes each. If you're playing a best of 3, you have 3 vetoes each, and That kind of explains why we seem to get the same maps repeatedly over and over and over again, especially in best of threes, because there are some maps that will float to the top naturally. Celestial Enclave, I feel like has been a little bit less frequent lately, but it could just be my, I don't know, my gut instinct, I don't know, could be wrong. Then again, it is a nice map. I do like seeing it. Factory coming up. A Reaper into Marine. No SCV Scout. Hatch gas pool here for Serral. No, actually, I take it back. We do have a single drone dying here. Hello. It is not a hatch gas pool. This is a hatch pool hatch. Serral going straight for that pocket expansion really early on. He's going to be able to get 5 of those mineral fields going nice and early. Maru scouts right now and it will notice, okay, there is nothing over there, but does this mean that this is a 2-base opener, or does this mean that there is a very quick third hatchery over on this side instead? He wants to see some creep. Can't see any creep just yet. We'll have to come back a little bit later when the hatch is actually done. Better keep cycling around. Keep the Reaper alive, though. Or maybe you can try and make a beeline. All right. The other way around, sure. And he will now know exactly what he's playing against. This is a big indicator, though, that Zerg does not have any gas. Second drone dying right there to the Reaper. That's sloppy. You should really not be losing a single drone at this level to a Reaper. Getting 2 kills is absolute best case scenario here for Maru. Anything more than that, you're just being greedy. He decides to celebrate as well, though, with a very quick 3rd command center. And then also a very quick 4th command center. This is a 4th base at the 3.5 minute mark. Let's go, Maru. If Maru gets away with this, he is gonna just skyrocket ahead. These are 4 bases, all building on location. This one is so easy to kill. There's nothing. But you know what? He has seen, okay, he didn't go gas. Therefore, there's no metabolic boost. What are the odds right now of Serral sending out slow Zerglings to try and kill a base that I am building out there? There's nothing Serral can do about this. He's making a Roach Warren, I suppose. He does have a little bit of gas right now, but he used most of it to go into a lair. Serral is autopiloting into playing his beloved macro game. He will not even be checking for this sort of thing. I'm hoping Maru is gonna go 4 orbital commands. 4 battles. Yeah, he has to go 4 battles. It has to be done. If you're gonna be this greedy, it's the only play. Serral, though, making a whole load of drones all at the same time. But I'm honestly a little bit concerned for, like, the first big attack that Maru has got lined up with this. If Maru goes for an attack, right as all of the economy kicks in, I mean, it is just going to hit like an absolute banger. Serral, though, being super greedy himself, too. Like, he basically has no units. Actually, remove the word basically out of that sentence. He has no units. He's got 1 drone on walling duty. But that's it. He's not made a Zergling. He has not made a Zergling and he has not made a Roach. We're 5 minutes in. Not a single attacking unit has been produced for Zerg up until just now. That's nuts. Overlord is going to scout out roughly what's happening. I don't know if this is enough intel here for the finisher to realize that there is another base. Maru indeed did go for the orbital. You'll love to see it. Armory already in the back of the Terran's main base to fire up the 2-2 really early on as well. This is effectively like a gentleman's 5-minute no rush type of thing. Both of these guys are being so ridiculously greedy, and they probably believe they're being so smart as well, right? Like, ha, my opponent never guesses I'm so greedy, but when you're both being super greedy, who's really... Like, if you're both greedy, is anybody greedy or is it just normal? Like, if the whole world is greedy, would we even consider that a word? I don't know. Anyways, that'll be a discussion for another time. But when both players are this greedy, how do you decide what to do? Well, we have Roaches with +1 carapace done in just a moment. I guess Serral is about ready to send it. Barracks 6, 7, and 8 right now coming up as well for Maru. Does he have enough units to prevent this push from really dealing critical amounts of damage? I am not so sure. Is Serral gonna try and go in through the back door? I guess so. A little bit risky. Maru will see it though. He will notice, I think at least, that the rocks are being knocked down, although maybe he hears it rather than he sees it. Here we go. Serral's ready. Siege tank sieges up. We have barely any units though. SCVs are pulled right now. The positioning of the structures is excellent. They are creating a bit of a wall here. Marines and Marauders are having a bit of a tough time as well getting through this spot. Serral decides to disengage for just a moment. Maybe he wants more and more reinforcements to come up. Maru decides to lift up the wall, saves a bunch of the production structures. Now he stims through it all though. And you know what? Maru actually is doing a remarkably good job shutting so many of those units down. Wait, did Maru just... I mean, there's still a 50 supply advantage or so. Okay, less than a 30 supply advantage right now for the Zerg. But Maru just absolutely killed it. That's crazy. Look at that. 50 supply worth of Marine Marauder killed 120 supply worth of Roach Ravager. Serral's now going to try and move around the other way. Keep in mind, though, that Terran has double upgrades done on those units, and 2-2 is on the horizon. As soon as 2-2 finishes, I think Serral is super dead. But honestly, he might not even need it. Maru absolutely shuts this down. I don't even know how he just pulled that off. That's insane. Alrighty. That takes us to White Rabbit. Game number 4 in this best of 7 series. I'm still kind of blown away that Maru defended that seemingly easily as he did. He was so far behind in supply. I guess it was just Roach Ravager and it was kind of like bumping into each other at like that choke point, right? So it wasn't ideal positioning for the Zerg. But Serral managed to catch Maru off guard, at the very least with the positioning of that fight. And Maru just absolutely murdered it. I think those 3 barracks, actually, that were like sort of slicing that area in half. The fact that Serral was just kind of clumping his units all together and a lot of the Roaches weren't able to fire, that really helped him out. I wonder how much of that is an accident, right? Like, did he actually intentionally produce those 3 barracks right over there because of that potential attack? Or did he just run out of space in the main base and he figured, oh, I guess I'll, you know, I've got some room over here, I'll just plant them down in that spot? I would like to say it's intentional, but sometimes there is a little bit of luck involved for sure. Because that was an oddball of a game. Like, that's not really very repeatable. When both players are that greedy, I'm not really sure if you can prepare for that too easily. Either way, worked out brilliantly for Maru, who's now looking at a 2-1 lead. White Rabbit, though. Another one of those macro maps, usually. You know what? We had a look at the win-loss ratio of Celestial Enclave. What about White Rabbit? It's a safe assumption Serral then picked the previous map. This map apparently is about 50-50. Yeah. I mean, I don't think all of the tournament maps are, all of the tournament games rather, are logged into Liquipedia, so you can't really have all of the info. And sometimes there is like a bit of a map meta where initially a map is considered to be really good for one race, and then it turns out it's actually much better for the other race. You just have to figure out the build order or the strategy that should be played. Either way, White Rabbit is a map that apparently has a about 50-50 win rate for both of the races here, for Zerg versus Terran. We haven't, by the way, seen Maru play any mech yet. I wouldn't mind seeing him mix a little bit of that in. It is a lot of fun to watch. Maybe Maru doesn't really like playing it so much, though. I feel like he could certainly go ahead and pull it off. Yet again, third command center down onto the low ground. It's kind of nice, right? I mean, there's this really funny Overlord command center meta. So what Maru is trying to do is deny the Overlord from seeing the third command center. Now, because Zergs want to see the third command center, usually they fly the Overlord around the other side, so they can commit to a scout at like 4 minutes of in-game time. Maru now pulled this trick off a bunch of times already in this series, so Serral decided to just put the Overlord again in what is normally considered to be the normal path. Like, this is the standard path for the Overlord. A lot of the top tier Zergs, though, like to send it in other ways, just because they want to guarantee the scout at the third hatchery or the third command center here. Yeah, now just apparently the most conventional location for the OV to be is where he's also going to be able to see the command center start up. Not a lot of maps actually feature these sort of pervert pillars anymore, where Zerg can just sort of watch. Yeah, you know what? Because he can watch, he can also send in a couple of links. Snipes the SCV, snipes another SCV, maybe even a third. Not bad. Scout of the main base here too. Absolute disaster here for Maru. Almost loses a fourth SCV as well. But yeah, this is an annoying location for Terran to have to deal with. He'll definitely kill it in a moment, though. I don't know if he realizes yet that the Overlord has been peeping on him. But I guess when he flies the command center down to the third base location, he will certainly get the confirmation of it. Hellion Benshibo opener here for Maru yet again, so no surprise in that regard. He fires up Stimpek. That means no mech. No mech! 4.5 minute lair for Serral. We'll probably go Baneling Nest. We'll probably go Evo Chamber. And we'll probably go +1 Carapace. Double Engineering Bay behind the main base's mineral line here for Maru. I'm starting to get a little bit of deja vu from the previous games. Otto is gone, by the way. Yeah. Otto, the Overlord, is dead. Hit like and subscribe for Otto. Oh, wait, no. Moment of silence for Otto, please. Okay, that's enough. He wasn't that important. He was... maybe he didn't know, maybe his family didn't know, but he was sent out there to die. That was... yeah, that's why he was out there. He was there for vision. And if it wasn't for him getting sniped by the Marines, he would likely fly himself into the base at some point and then just YOLO in. Yeah. Not a good time to be an Overlord, really. Hydra Den. Is that the first Hydra Den in this series? I think it is. This is pure Hydra Ling right here for Serral. So no Baneling Nest. Double Evo right now in the main base, but those are relatively late. Pure Hydra? We'll probably go Banelings at some point. But this is a bit of a gamble here for Serral in a way. I always feel like these very quick Hydra Ling openers, they're just so flimsy. Like if Terran goes for a big attack or if you accidentally overextend, you're just in a world of trouble. So far though, Maru doesn't know. He hasn't been able to see any of the natural in a while. He doesn't know that this is indeed a follow-up. And we even have +1 missile. So +1 missile right here, +1 Carapace, and then a Hydra follow-up. So we're really trying to make as many of those bad boys as possible. Pure Hydra. And then eventually Lingbane. Okay. We'll have to keep an eye out here. Is there like a timing attack potential? We did see some timing attacks recently. Who was it again? Was it a Rogue versus Clem, maybe? We did see a Zerg player attempt a Hydra timing attack against Terran not too long ago. And I was very excited for it, and then it did absolutely nothing. Yeah, it just got absolutely destroyed. So maybe Serral will show us the way that it's supposed to be played, but I'm a little bit concerned that yet again the Hydras are just gonna fall flat. Maru using this high ground advantage over here to go in. Nice scan as well to get rid of some of the creep tumors. Yep. Oh. For some reason did not quite get the kill on that one. Hydras do need their upgrade. What? Maru! This gotta be a misclick, no? He just landed a mule onto the queens. Is it 2011 again? Are we trying to Batman the opponent? Well, if he did, I think that was a mistake. Because I don't mind this position here for Terran, but it certainly does not feel like a game-winning one. Still though, the Hellbats now are available. 2-2 has already been fired up on the other side of the map. Serral's reinforcements are going to be able to clean this up. Yeah. We actually sometimes see Terrans making that mistake. And I have also seen Terrans actually write in the in-game chat The fact that they didn't mean to, or you know, they apologized for, because it's considered very bad manners. Back in the early GSL days, this is what players used to do, okay? When you're winning the game so hard, scanning your opponent's base and dropping a bunch of mules. It's like basically the StarCraft equivalent of giving your opponent a finger. In StarCraft culture, generally frowned upon. Zerg players would then respond sometimes by building hatcheries inside of the opponent's main base. I thought those were always kind of funny. Pretty difficult to pull off, though, but sending a drone in and just building a hatchery. Yeah, the problem is these guys are... They generally get along too well. The thing is, both Serral and Maru have, you know, they've played against each other so many times. They have been so successful over the years that making enemies for no apparent reason just doesn't really make a lot of sense. The amount of drama in the StarCraft world really has gone down over the years. There used to be a lot more of it. There used to be a lot more of it. Remember the Naniwa days, for example? There's a lot of drama. There was a lot of Stefano drama as well for entirely different reasons. A lot of Hydra drama. There was always drama. I guess... Oh. Hey, Brenda, leave him alone! Alright. I guess a lot of the professional gamers got a little bit older too. Yeah. One medevac goes down here. Maru trying his absolute best. Just YOLOing in, though, is rarely the right call. Okay, Ghost Academy coming up right now. Dude, I remember some of those photos that were taken of Stefano. Where he, like... What was it again? He got, like, arrested in Sweden or something? He looked like an absolute rock star. It was so funny, man. Like, all the StarCraft guys, generally speaking, are, like, the nerdiest individuals you can find. And then you have guys like Stefano who are just treating the game like, no, I never practice. I don't even care about it. Where am I going to take these winnings? I'm just going to go to the bank. There's so many cool moments. Oh, well. The most financially successful players in the end, though? It's the nerds. Yeah, it's the nerds like Serral and Maru. That's a compliment, by the way. I say this as one of the nerdiest people out there. Anyways, Maru going for a big full frontal attack. Marine Marauder medevac. And then a bunch of siege tanks in the back. Lurker then coming up, by the way, for Serral together with a Nidus network. So there's a little bit of a different approach. We haven't seen a lot of Lurker play as of late. Planetary Fortress here is real good from Maru, though. Oh, that's a Zerg meat grinder and a half. Look at that defense. Maru really wanted the Zerg there to commit. That would have been a lot of dead bodies, but needs to carefully back up right now, though. There's a retreat here, of course, so he knows that these units can join forces together really rapidly. You do not want to get all of these units surrounded. Stim pack gets activated. Maru wants to try and get the juicy hits. Does not quite get it. Serral does not take the bait. But even when Zerg doesn't take the bait here, I think it will still work out favorably for Terran. Yeah. Maru is the master when it comes to bait. He's the master. Wait, hold on. No, hold up. Okay, Drilling Claws coming up. Ghost Academy is now indeed kicking in, and we have the Ghost coming out. He doesn't yet know about the transition towards the Lurkers that is imminent, but you can kind of smell it, right? When there's smoke, there's fire. Yep, and yet again, we are now headed into a situation similar as the first games of this series, where Maru is trying to build up the command center count. Serral wants to grab about 60% of the map and then run with it. Now, this is a different map, though, than what we saw earlier on. A lot of those bases are maybe slightly more accessible. You do have to be careful, though. Like, the main issue, I guess, for Zerg is that these bases are reasonably close to each other. Being able to control the high ground is a big advantage as well. Building armor coming up yet again. 3-3 already done here for Maru, by the way. That's pretty quick. He's always on top of those upgrades. I do quite like the Hydra Bane style. So Hydra Bane into Lurkers. Now, what's kind of weird is that we have had Lurker tech all this time. Serral got the upgrades for the Lurkers as well. But he didn't make any... Oh, okay. He didn't make any Lurkers just yet. I guess he wanted to finish up all the upgrades before even really starting up the production. Now we have a double Spire as well in the back of the natural. Could just be for double upgrades. So Corruptors could also be for a big Brute Lord transition. Overseer numbers are coming up. Yeah, it's a very refined Overseer style. It's a little different than that mass Overseer approach from Rogue. This one is a little bit more elegant. Let's see, though. We're gonna try and push in yet again. Man, this positioning is so nice. I love this. This setup, if you're a Terran player, I think you just need to copy this exact layout. It is perfect. The missile or the supply depot over here, I mean, Zerg just cannot penetrate it. Yeah, really nice stuff. Okay, push in the meantime on the right. Tactical Nuke also coming up here for Maru right now. Nidus Worm in the back of this base just to try and evacuate the drones if it needs to be done. Well, Maru is navigating this map brilliantly. Here we have the Lurkers now trying to break open this location, though. After the Hydra Bane army couldn't do it, maybe the Lurkers can get a little bit more... Yeah, a little bit more work done. SCVs will be tried for defense. Hatchery indeed over here. It did already end up going down. We have a new command center taken over in the bottom right-hand corner, but the ghosts are now needed in this location. Both players have already built up a nice little bank yet again. I like this game much better, though, for Maru. Like, in all of the macro games that we've seen so far, I feel like this is... I mean, all of the macro games, especially game number 1. Serral decides to pull through here. It's a very... well, juicy clump of banelings to be targeting down with your siege tank. Serral thinking the same thing, decides to use the disabling cloud on it. And now, finally, the soft underbelly with that Stimpak running out of the Marines was exposed. Maru does lose a lot of expensive units, but likewise, Serral also had to pay the price. Yeah, you can see that reflected right now in the resource count. Not a terrible spot here for the Zerg player, or for the Terran player at all. He's just been trading so efficiently. And what I like a lot better here for Maru compared to the first game of this best of 7 is that he's just able to go toe-to-toe economically much better. Like, those bases are not nearly as hard for him to snipe. Ultra Cavern now for Serral. Interesting. So we've had double Spire just for upgrades. And now Ultralisk coming up together with Infestors. So we are, yeah, we did go Lurkers for a little bit, but we're already starting to make the transition away from it yet again. Fair enough. Now, I would love to see Maru starting up the transition as well towards Liberators, although yet again he needs to run. Siege tanks, though, are super nice. We have a couple of EMPs onto the Vipers. Backs up here to the safety of the siege tanks yet again. He did EMP the Overseers too, by the way, which is kind of neat. Lurkers now coming in around the side. Hydra Bane trying to break this position open. I think eventually this command center will die. Yeah, fungal growth here attempted. Siege tank is going to, okay, try and get some final hits in. And you know what? The mass repair is expensive, but it's just barely good enough. So Serral right now is able to make a transition to basically anything, right? He can go Ultras, he can go, well, into Brute Lords reasonably well. He's ready to transition to all of the stuff. But Maru seems to have the bases covered. Like, he seems to be able to counter all of the stuff really well. I would love to see a Fusion Core a little bit sooner this time. Maru not really trying to get those, well, going all too quickly, it seems, throughout this series. At least getting them later than I would expect him to. Planetary Fortress up on his high ground again, too, man. We have the double planetary defense now. This siege tank is not going to live for very long, it seems. But there are plenty of defenses ready to go. Serral now making a move again for this planetary over in the bottom right, though. And this time around, Maru sees it coming, immediately pulls the SCVs. He knows that this base is toast. Maybe he can take an eye for an eye. At least it seems like he's making a push in this direction. Serral, though, already has the units set up to try and defend it. Fungal growth together with blinding clouds and parasitic bombs, abductions, all the rest of it. It's a very scary combination. Okay, here goes Maru. He's testing the waters for now. Siege tank able to shoot across this little crevice. Nidus Worm into the main base. Hatchery goes down, though. Is there enough Zerg to really push all of this away? We do have some parabombs. A lot of Marauders get blown up, but the Baneling traits are not too cost efficient. Nidus Worm in the main base does go up, but there's no units inside of it, and the siege tank from the low ground had been helping out for a while already. Maru does lose a lot of expensive units in the meantime. Yeah. But he did take out a base. This little location is wonderful, by the way. 21 confirmed kills. Yeah, Maru's building positioning, it's something that isn't often highlighted, but it's really good. Maru's bank doesn't seem that big compared to Serral, but it's because he's been building up the orbitals. He's still adding on so many command centers. We are just a few minutes away from the command center count effectively being maxed out. Like, he doesn't really need any anymore after I think these additional 3 are done. And at that point, his bank can grow really rapidly. So this is a healthy amount of resources for Terran to have at this point. It is important not to get addicted to the command center button, like we have seen from, for example, Bjorn in the past, where he seems to just make like 50 of those bad boys, and he just doesn't have any cash. Okay, 50 is an exaggeration, more like 25. But it's still too much. Another base over here gets denied, though, and this time around 18 SCVs also full. It's a bloody war. But I like this position from Maru a little bit better than the one in game number 1. Now with +3, though, firing up, Serral also decides to go into a Brute Lord transition. Or at least a potential Brute Lord transition. The issue here for Maru is that Zerg just has so much money. How do you fight this, right? Like, every time he seems to take a reasonable trade, there's another wave of Zerg on the back of this. Tactical nuke, though. Oh, I caught the tail end of the smoke. Tactical nuke moving in. Serral finds it, shuts it down immediately. It's just a tiny red dot. But usually, if you're a Zerg player here and you're wondering, hey, how in the world do they find those nukes so quickly? Usually it's the most exposed bases. The ones that are easiest to attack. Blinding Cloud onto the planetary? Nah, we're too cool for that sort of thing. Not worth it. Another base falls. But while this base falls, we do have the Terran now making a move towards the left side of the map. So these minerals will smell like drone. It's kind of disgusting. But at the very least, this is a mineable expansion now for the Terran. And Maru is already starting to set up shop. Getting a bunch of defensive units here in place. Serral is going for a Nidus Worm in this direction to maybe go for a counter-offensive, but Maru now retakes the base over here at the bottom yet again. The siege tank spread is really, really good. But here's the mules. And this is where the mules are so nice. Using them to quickly mine out a base like this, well, you know it's the shared one, right? Like, it's the one that requires you to get to the 50-50 mark. Such a powerful tool. Such a powerful tool. More and more siege tanks die. Planetary over here, though, is done. Okay. I'm expecting the Terran bank to go up quite significantly now. Good fungal growth over here. The ghosts cannot run away. Juicy hits for Serral. Serral making all the right choices, it seems. A couple of Hydras here to finish off another command center. And while we will have a bunch of mules landing over here too, got a feeling that this orbital is in a world of trouble. I'm assuming Zerg is going to be back for more momentarily. Those 2 Hydralisks. I don't know if it's a punishment or a promotion to go from a Hydra into a Lurker, but either way, they're going to be able to continue harassing here in just a moment time. So I was going to try and see if he can break this position open right over here. Blinding Clouds onto one of the tanks. Another planetary fortress will fall. Man, we have had so many command centers die. How many are we? It's actually only 4. I guess the ones in the bottom right, I mean, there's been a lot of orbitals. They've been lifted off and they've flown away and then returned. 12,000 resources, though. Lost more, it seems. A little less, I guess, with the gas, but a very significant amount of resources lost here. A difference, that is. About 10k more on the side of the Zerg. Maru's still able to max out. Finds out that he can make another command center, so, you know. When you learn you can make a command center, you make a command center. It's the Terran golden rule. Serral now is going to be able to get that Sky Zerg transition going. And interestingly enough, the first time that these air units hit the battlefield, they're practically already maxed. It's rare that we see that. +3 armor is coming up, +3 attack is already done. So this is like the first proper air unit, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Not a single Corruptor have died. They spawn with 3-2. Widowmines here set up yet again. Banelings are trying to roll through. Serral decides to back up. So many tanks, though. Blue Flame upgrades also added into the mix. 11 Brother Lords coming up. Brute Lord Infestor. A unit composition as old as StarCraft 2 is. This was like the first broken thing in the game. Since then, Infestors have been nerfed about 17 times. But back in 2010, this unit composition was so utterly OP. I think the Infestor is probably the most nerfed unit in the entire game, and it's still pretty dang good. I don't think anybody would say that Infestors are weak. Alright. Yeah, and this is the first time the Brute Lords are seen. And they just hit like absolute trucks. I kind of like, though, that we have so many orbital commands. Like, planetary fortresses are strong defensively, but they can't fly. Against Brute Lords, against Lurkers, maybe it's better to just get orbitals going. Maru now, though, he realizes that the majority of the Zerg supply is in the bottom left, or the left side of the map, so you may as well test the waters in the middle. Gonna be able to take care of that base pretty quickly, it seems. You need to be careful, though, with this group of roaming units. Losing all of the ghosts is not what you want. Serral's gonna try and take the base again over on the right side, and in the meantime, Maru will probably try to see if he can retake the base over on the left. Fusion Core coming up. Thor production starting to kick in right now, mostly because of the, well, long-range anti-air option. Look at the resource counts right now, though. Look at the banks. Both players are starting to get to a spot where it's nearly identical. So even though Serral was leading that very significantly not too long ago, as we see a lot of snipes going down, great EMP as well onto the Infestors. Slowly but surely, Maru is closing the gap. And I think actually at this point, after the exchange here, the gap has been closed. Yeah, Maru's army size is growing. He's replacing the lost SCVs with more attacking units. Whereas Serral is having a difficult time remaxing it out. Drones trying to make their way over here, but it's an absolute bloodbath. 16 drones fall just like that. Now suddenly it kind of feels like Zerg is all in, man, in a weird way. He needs to get another base up and running soon. Otherwise he's gonna fizzle out really quickly. This man used to be rich once upon a time, but now he's running out of cash. It was like the Zerg lottery winner. He still has a banger of an army, though. It's just not that big anymore. Tactical nuke. Yet again. A couple of Thors are stuck inside of the main base. Oh, careful. He knows that there's a nuke coming over here, right? Like, I mean, this is the easiest red dot to spot. Well, Brenda and Karen did not get the memo. They're gonna get nuked. A couple of Zerglings underneath as well. Running to their same demise, but in the meantime, Terran has taken over the base that was previously the Zergs on the right side of the map. And this is an absolute masterclass from Maru. Serral did not play poorly whatsoever, but he's getting destroyed. Maru's just owning it here. We still have two good... we still have 2 Thors stuck inside of the main base. But Maru does not need them. GG. Welcome to the Ruby Rock. Actually, the scoreboard is not accurate. This is a 3-1 advantage right now for Maru. And now that Maru is on match point, we go for a Okay. An SCV scout? We don't. This is not an SCV scout. This is an SCV proxy. Do we send the third? Ay, Maru. Maru is ready to put it all on the line. After we have played 3 near half-hour long games. Actually, I think the first one was over a half-hour long. We are now going to try and see if we can get the job done in just a few minutes. I mean, he's got a bit of wiggle room. Worst case scenario right now, he loses the map. It's 3-2 for Terran. Not a bad spot. I mean, if you do this build 3 times back to back to back, what are the odds of Zerg defending it every time? I honestly don't really like Serral's chances in that regard, to be honest. Like, unless he starts hard countering it, I suppose. But if you go hedge gas pool, the margin for error is so small. And it really is. Like, the critical part here for Zerg is that he sniffs out that this is coming. And right now, he does not have an Overlord even remotely close. This OV is going to be protecting the high ground. The first one has gone straight across the map. He will know that something fishy is going on when he sees that there's no command center building. But at that point, it might already be a little bit too late. Then again, though, this is an absolute world-class Zerg. He has defended this type of shenanigans many, many times before. And I've seen him defend some ridiculous proxies. But this is always scary. A very committed all-in here for Maru versus a very normal early game for Serral, but he does not know. First bunker starts up. It's important to start up the bunker before the creep spreads too far. Immediately, drones are pooled. Serral needs to make sure that that bunker gets denied, but likewise, he also needs to make sure that the drones here live. He's trying to get us to rout on some of the Marines. Not ideal. Nice targeting here by Maru. He is going to lose a few of the Marines right now, though. In the meantime, we did have some Zerglings getting produced. 2 Queens are coming up. Okay, that SCV goes down. There's still a bunch of them remaining, though. Okay, command center, bunker over here gets canceled. 2 Queens just about to pop out. And this is one of those defenses yet again, man, that looks really nice. Yeah, you paid a price with a bunch of drones. But I mean, as the dust settles, is this such a bad position here for the Zerg? Well, I don't really hate it for Terran, don't get me wrong. Maru is actually just doubling down. He does need to finish up this supply depot ASAP. Maru is actually just going to go all in. Wait, are we going to pull the boys again? I've seen him do that a few times as of late. He might just. Because he's still pumping out the units. Yes! Oh, he does it again. He does it again. He did this not too long ago as well to clutch out another series, leaving pretty much everybody behind. Maru is gonna try and do one final all-in for all the marbles. There will not be any bunkers, but there will be SCVs ready to tank the damage, and this is so scary for the Zerg. Serral did go for link speed, but all he really needs right now is bodies. He just needs links. He's been making non-stop links, though. He has not added on a single drone, I don't think. Here we go. The SCVs arrive. Serral apparently could smell this coming in from a mile away. The positioning here, though, if he can actually wedge his units and reduce the surface area, it looks really good for Maru. The hatchery itself is taking a bit of a beating. This is when Serral decides to pull the trigger. The Queens, they are in a decent position, but look at those SCVs tanking the damage. Pretty much none of the Marines have died, and just like that, Maru gets the job done yet again in the dirtiest way possible. Serral gives him the GG well played. But there we have it. It's Maru who wins the Liulu Cup. 4-1 over Serral in the Grand Finals. These two seemed very evenly matched. But if you look at the end result, I mean, that is a very clear-cut victory for Maru. So Maru lost the first map, but then proceeded to win 4 in a row. I mean, I was going to say, I don't remember the last time Serral lost 4 maps in a row to anybody, but I do. That was at the EWC in 2025 when he lost against Clem in the Grand Finals. That was a 5-0. Not quite ideal right there for the finisher. But either way, these are very rare losses. And it's indeed Maru now who gets the job done. And he does so in a spectacular fashion. Playing solid macro, really solid micro across the board, and then finishing it with a perfect cheese. The man does it all. GG.